Are you serious about your finances? Subscribe down below because you're watching Boss Your Money with Anthony. Today we're going to talk about how to create a budget. I find that a lot of people want to have a budget. They want to be good at managing their money. But they find it very difficult, and I don't understand why that has to be so. Budgeting is not a very difficult task, but it can be a bit bland and it can be difficult for people to stick to. In this video, I'm going to show you guys exactly how to budget. Even if you do know how to budget, it's very important to know that after you create a budget, it's important to stick to it. And also, it's important to review it at the end of each month and improve on it on a monthly basis. This is very, very important for us to have a successful budgeting system. All right, without taking too much time on the intro, let's get straight into it and I'll show you guys how to budget your money successfully. So as you can see, I've created a very simple sample budget on my screen here where I've indicated all my monthly incomes. Okay, if you guys have one source of income, that's absolutely fine. Just remove the other two, edit this to your exact monthly income figure. All right. And I also see that this is the format in which a lot of people make their budget. So what they do is they enter in all their incomes and then they go ahead and enter in all of their expenses. So they include their housing, they might have a car, they might have school fees for the kids, utilities, groceries, so on and so forth. So I've just added a very simple sample budget here. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to edit this to your individual personal requirements. All right, so if you don't have kids, go ahead and remove the schooling fees. If you don't have credit card payments, go ahead and remove that. If you don't have transportation, go ahead and remove that. But if you do have additional expenses, add that. All right, simple. So what I see is that most of the people use a budget in this format. They have the money in, they have the money out, and then whatever is left over at the end of the month, that's what they consider for saving or investing. Now, this is a very, very wrong way to go about budgeting. So how would I go about budgeting, right? So before I get into that, I'd like to tell you guys, I'm using a template that is part of the Numbers app on the MacBook, but you guys don't have to use this. You can use any platform that you want. You can even take a piece of paper and just write it down, old school, absolutely fine. I mostly prefer writing it down on a piece of paper, to be perfectly honest, because that just makes it easier and simpler, right? But if you do prefer using this, go ahead and do that. If you prefer using an Excel sheet on your Windows computer, that's perfectly fine. If you like using an app on your phone, I personally use an Android phone, so I prefer the Andro Money app because it also gives you an option to have a web interface. I'm not too sure about what apps are best for iPhone, but I'm sure if you go on the App Store, you will find plenty of free options that will be just fine. So choose your preferred method of budgeting and go about doing it. The second thing I'd like to mention, so as I said, this is not the way I would personally make my budget. All right, so how would I go about doing my budget? It's very important to set a goal for your investments and savings. This is the main thing that I see people don't do. Before you create a budget, I want you guys to go ahead and let yourselves figure out how much you want to and need to save for whatever goal it might be. All right, you might want to have a savings budget to purchase a house for an investment, create an alternate source of income. Maybe you might want to set a goal for your retirement savings, whatever the case may be. But the point is, you need to have a goal for your savings. All right, so once you have that goal, So in this video, I'm going to take retirement savings as an example. So what I've done is I've gone into this website called calculator.net, but you can just Google retirement savings calculator and you will find 100 different options. You can choose whatever you want and just fill in the details. All right. So I am 30 years old, so I'll leave that as it is. I do plan to retire by at the age of 65. Of course, we all want to retire earlier. This is just as an example for the video. So let's take planned retirement age as 65 and we'll leave life expectancy as 85. You guys can change it if you want to. And for the sake of this video, we are not talking about US, we're talking about wherever you are in the world. So let's not take social security income, which may or may not be applicable to your country. Let's say that we don't have other sources of income after we retire. Okay, for the sake of this video, I'm going to take a average investment ROI of 6%. Let's go ahead and leave inflation rate at 3% as well. And to be in line with my example on the budgeting sheet, as I've mentioned, $10,000 of income per month. Let's go ahead and make this $120,000 income per year. We've also taken 75% of our current income, which is $120,000 needed after retirement. All right. So once you go ahead and fill up this to your personal requirements, just go ahead and click calculate and it'll tell you exactly how much is needed at the time of retirement. Okay, so here we can see that we need $3.8 million saved at the age of 65. So this might seem like a lot, right? But how exactly are we going to achieve this? So if you scroll down this same page, you guys can see that it says right here, how can you save for retirement? So this is all filled up automatically based on what you have filled up on top. So all you have to do is hit calculate and it will show you exactly how much you need to save on a monthly basis. Amount to save every month is $2,668.52. Okay, if you save this every single month until you turn 65, you're going to reach your retirement goals. Okay, so as you can see, you've only actually put in 1.1 million and you've earned 2.6 passive income from this, which is great. Okay, so now that we have this figure figured out, which is 2,500 approximately, let's go back into how I would really make my budget. All right, so let's get back into this screen and I'll show you guys how exactly to get it done. Let's keep the income the exact same. What you need to do right now is start off with the savings amount. All right, so let's go ahead and add a row above. Okay, and we'll start with savings. We'll go ahead and say $2,668. So as you can see here, you now have negative money left over on a monthly basis, which is absolutely fine. What I want you to do now is reverse calculate your expenses. Okay, if you are spending $600 on miscellaneous expenses, just go ahead and cut it down to 300. If you have other expenses that you can cut down, of course, some of the expenses you may not be able to cut down. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm sure you have expenses like school fees. You don't want to switch your children's education to a new school or a new college or a new university just because you want to save a little bit extra, right? So there might be some expenses that you can't really change, but there are other expenses that you can change. Maybe go ahead and talk to your utility service provider, your telephone company, your internet company, whoever they are, your electricity provider, and see if you can renegotiate the terms, or maybe you can have a better contract in place, whatever it might be, to reduce your utilities. Let's say we reduce that to $150. Try to cut down on junk food, maybe try to eat at home, not at restaurants as often as you might right now. So that would cut down other expenses as well. Credit cards, are you paying a lot of credit card interest amounts? If so, you might want to cut down on that by, of course, paying off your credit cards first. If you are currently paying for a high-end car and you can't really afford to do that, Maybe you want to downgrade your car, or maybe you want to downgrade your house. Are you staying in a 3-bedroom house for just yourself? Maybe. So these are things to consider and factor in when you make your budget. So let's say we cut down on all of these expenses, maybe make this 2,500. Okay. And now all of a sudden, as you can see, you still have a little bit of money left over at the end of the month. So this is how I would make my budget. It is very, very difficult to make a budget if you start off with all your expenses and then try to save only what's left over. So if you need to extend this to $5,000 to achieve whatever your goals might be, then you need to re-evaluate all of your expenses and try to fit it within your means. I would say live well below your means. I wouldn't say live within your means. There is a big difference, and I want you guys to take a moment to understand exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? If you can afford to buy a brand new car, please go ahead and buy a second-hand car and save yourselves that extra money. You've successfully now built a beautiful budget where you know exactly how much you want to save on a monthly basis. All right. So now what you want to do is revisit this budget on a monthly basis without fail. So we've budgeted for $150 a month for utilities, and we've budgeted $400 for groceries every single month, right? So I want you guys to go back and check if you have in fact stayed within your budget. All right. If you guys have exceeded your budget, I really want you guys to get disciplined right now. There is no excuses. You know exactly what you need, and you need to spend that. You cannot afford to spend extra money. Once you know that you have managed to stay within your budget, now it's time to reassess and see where you can further cut down every single month. Okay. If you feel like that there is an expense that is not really necessary, I want you guys to cut that out in your next month's budget. I want you guys to also look for alternate streams of income, which is very important, which is exactly why I've mentioned passive one and additional income, because you guys might have 6 passive income streams and you guys might not have a single passive income stream, which is absolutely fine. But now is the time to start thinking about creating new streams of income. All right. Don't wait for tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Today, now. All right. So let's say you have now a brand new stream of income and you're generating an additional $5,000. All right. So go ahead and make this $6,000, and now you have $15,000 as your monthly income. What do you do now? You don't go and increase your current monthly expenses. You do not increase all of these expenses. What I want you to do is take this 5,000 and add at least, I would say, 75% of that increase to your savings. Okay. So here in this case, I would say go ahead and make this $6,668. So you now are left with the same amount of monthly leftover money, which you also have to reinvest at some point, or you might choose to just leave it as a buffer cash, which is also fine. But the point I'm trying to make is that there has to be an idea as to what your goal is and how you're going to achieve that. Okay. So if you spend this $5,000 that you're earning additionally on a monthly basis on going out and having fun with your friends, that's absolutely fine, except that it's going to take you 35 years to retire. Whereas if you decide to use this money to put it towards your retirement goals, all of a sudden you're going to be shaving off years from your retirement target, right? So this is my advice on how to budget and how I would go about budgeting. I would really like to hear about your thoughts on this. So leave a comment down below. And if you did like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Take care.